today. The date is the 6th of February 2021.
It's my birthday tomorrow.
Oh, is it? Oh, happy birthday. That's very nice. I just want to, let's start with your early childhood. Where were you born and your early life? If you can just give us a little idea.
Sure. I was born in Kampala, Uganda, and I was there until I was 5. And because Uganda became an independent country, British left, a lot of men like my father got a little bit, not jittery, I would say, but got worried about their families. Because under British, they were invited to actually build the empire. Mainly Indians did all the hard work, British didn't. The Africa, Southern Africa, East Africa were built by actually Indians. In either they were laborers or they were overseers. So people like my father went there as he was a young man. He left our small town, Ras, to go to Ahmedabad to work in a cotton factory. That was the normal thing, I think. Normal thing that people did. If you had 4 boys in a house, not everyone can actually plow a kind of a small land. So they said only one brother would stay behind and others would go either to Ahmedabad or to Mumbai or wherever the work was. So my father as a young man went to Ahmedabad, worked in cotton mills, again for British if you think about it. And then the British then wanted to expand their empire. So he invited Indians because they knew Indians very well. And they said, I think, that, we could work with Indians, but we don't know these, in their minds, these black people, these heathens or something. And actually people were, when they told me that's how English used to treat Africans that way. So they said, well, we can work with Indians and Indians can look after these Ugandans, Kenyans, South Africans or whatever. A pure racism.
We were the brown wedge.
We were yeah, exactly. Okay. So hence my father and his 2 brothers. So 3 brothers went to Uganda. My father then ran a provision store, and I was born in Kampala because I don't think Lugazi had a big hospital or not. So I was born in a Mango district hospital in Kampala. I was 5. Then my father decided, and a lot of other men like my father sent their families back to Gujarat. Now, in our case, my father decided that we should go back to Ras, our ancestral town, village town, small town. A lot of other families stayed in Anand or other big cities like Vadodara. But I grew up in my small town, Raskam. Played a big part in a Quit India movement. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was caught for the first time making an anti-British speech, Quit India movement speech, under a banyan tree, a Vad Nu Jhad. It's still there and we still look after it. Mahatma Gandhi was also caught under another banyan tree. Now he was caught second time by the British making a speech in our village, in our town. So the whole village, the whole town had this kind of a we are Indians kind of a ethos, a blood in them. I was told that at one point people from our town, from Ras village, decided not to pay any tax, Karvero Kache, I think it was called. So they said, we're not going to pay you anything, you bugger off. And the British said, look, we'll forgive you, we'll let you go, even if you pay up. I think there was a paisa which had a hole in it. I've forgotten. They said, no, bugger it. They left the whole village, went to the neighboring village called Jaroda, and they stayed there. I mean, these are the stories that I hear. One of my uncle, my father's younger brother, he's the one stayed behind. Now he was very khadi-dhari person. Khadi-dharis, he only wore hand-woven cotton material. So through him, through a lot of men in our village, I grew up. At the age of 5, my father sent us to India. At the age of 5, I grew up in my town, in Ras, went to school there, went to Bal Mandir there, did everything there until I was 17, where I did my matriculation. And prior to that, in 1971, my father came to England. My father stayed in Africa. A lot of men stayed in Africa. They sent their families back to Gujarat. That was the trend. And a lot of the times we never saw our fathers. A lot of men, girls, and boys like me never saw them because it was so expensive to travel from be it Kenya or Uganda to Gujarat. So I only saw my father 3 times.
So you must have had a father figure or grandparents or somebody.
But my Dadima, she was around, so she was a great influence because next door, my aunt, they had the same story. That uncle sent my aunt and their 4 daughters back to Gujarat. In my family, myself and my 4 sisters and my mother, we were sort of living side by side, basically. So yeah, until I was 17, I stayed in Gujarat. I did my matriculation. And prior to that, even then, see, this is what the Gujaratis are good at. They always think ahead. They always go, now, at the moment, things aren't going very well. Something can happen or whatever. So without doing anything, they would then prepare themselves and make the move. And I think my father made the move with the help of one Sardar friend. He said, actually, what you're worried about? My father said, I have 4 daughters and I have a son. He said, look, why don't you go to England, because you have a British protected passport. We were not British citizens even then. The British took us there. They used us, abused us, and only gave us the British protected passport. We didn't have all the rights until I think later on in the 70s. I think, and it was also the Labour government. Labour government was against us as well. I think people in this country, in Britain, fought for our rights to be British citizens. I mean, I might someone might sort of say, no, you're wrong or whatever. But these are the things I remember. So my father came here first in 1971 from Uganda to here. Now, these are the sacrifices that a lot of Gujaratis have made. I mean, for how many years they stayed, husband and a wife stayed apart. My mother did her duty and my father did his duty. I mean, these are the kind of, these values come from your religion, your, as we say, Sanatan Dharma. When people talk about Hinduism is it's about how you live your life, basically. And these 2 people, they sacrificed their lives, basically, for each other, for their children, like my aunt did next door. And like my family, there were a lot of many families who did that, as well as other families who stayed in Uganda, and when Idi Amin kicked everyone out overnight, they had to sort of leave everything and come here in a kind of a freezing cold British winter in nylon saris. Nylon was the fashion. I mean, when I came here in Britain in 1972, I wore a nylon shirt. We came via Amsterdam and over here. I think our flight was KLM flight. It was the first time I flew. I was on an aeroplane at the age of 17 in 1972.
And you said you studied in a Gujarati medium school. So
Right.
coming to
Yeah.
So coming to England, tell us a bit about your experience, first experience of coming to Britain.
My first experience of coming to England. I remember when, of course, in our small town, everyone knew that with this family they were going to England, and in fact, around that time, I don't know, even before Idi Amin, people were going to Uganda rather than Britain. No one knew that this dictator Idi Amin was going to kick all the Gujaratis out, or he was going to demand that either you surrender your British nationality, become a Ugandan citizen. Not only that, marry, give your daughters to Ugandan men. that was a sacrosanct. I mean, people weren't even thinking about that. I don't think Gujaratis were racist, but of course, I did hear that there were a lot of Gujaratis were misusing Ugandans as well. They were treating them, but I think that they adopted actually from British as well. I mean, you can't blame everything on them as well, but they realized that, oh, that's how the British are treating Ugandans, and we are there superior to Ugandans. So some of them actually did actually mistreat them. I remember when I grew up in Lugazi, we had when you say houseboy, it's kind of a derogatory term, but kind of a home help. When you come to Britain and say, my mother had a home help all her life in Uganda, they'd go, you must be you must be owning an estate or something. But no, it wasn't that expensive or whatever. I remember bonding with him as well. And I would go to go down on a railway yard where all the sugar cane used to come to Lugazi, because Lugazi had a big sugar factory basically, and playing with him, and he would joke with me. He would jump on a kind of a railway wagon which was just going from one side to the other, and I would think he's leaving me, and I would cry and cry and cry. He was only playing with me. So leaving all that and then coming to going to India and then coming to Britain, that was again a kind of it wasn't an upheaval. We got used to it. We got used to it. When everyone heard that, oh, these are the kind of people who came from Uganda, Afrikawara, they used to call us Afrikawara, they're going to England, everyone knew about it. In those days, they said, oh, in England, there is snow throughout the year. So I had this vision of the England covered in snow, basically. And some of them were kind of were saying, not in jealousy, but they would say, oh, give them give them 2 or 3 months and they'll come back. That they're not going to stay there in a cold wintry England. So yeah, when I turned up in a nylon shirt, because we left in September. So you can imagine it's a warm season in India. We had a KLM flight. We came to Amsterdam and Amsterdam to here. And at Heathrow Airport, it was absolutely freezing cold meeting my father and my cousin brother. We call them cousin, but we call them cousin brother. And then he put us in a black cab. The minute we sat down, my dad, my mom, my 3 sisters. One of my sisters stayed behind because she was already married, and then we were on M4 at Heathrow. We then came on to M4, and then the neon lights actually made our skin look different because our brown skin became kind of a little bit white. So my young sister Rekha said, "Look, we're all white now. We're all white now," and I still remember. Because when I told my wife is English, and when I told her that happened, they laughed, but they laughed in a way that how different races actually regard the white skin in a different light, as if one night, not that we didn't like what we were, but all of a sudden coming to Britain, we've become English now, so yeah.
And language barrier
language barrier was a big upheaval. I grew up in a small town, in a Gujarati medium school. So although I learned English, Sanskrit, Hindi, and Gujarati, but when you learn English, it's not the same as you're speaking English fluently. So from day one, a day later, we had one day of rest. That's how Gujarati mind works. You're going somewhere, you have a goal. It's not in a kind of a regimental way, but we have come here for a reason. Why you leave your ancestral place, your home, apni dharti. You're leaving your homeland. You're going somewhere else. You're going somewhere else for a reason. It's not that you hate your India, your Bharat, your Gujarat. It's not that. You're going somewhere for a reason. My father only invited us. He was only going to invite me to start with. My father came here first. He was going to invite me. I would study while he would work in factories. Although my father had a provision store, but when we went to India, he sold it, and then he worked in a coffee factory in the jungle amongst Ugandans. Again, the whole coffee estate was owned by a Gujarati. So he would then put a Gujarati manager, overseer, to do that. He lived in a jungle on his own amongst all the all the indigenous Ugandans. Now, there were Gujaratis who were during the daytime, would actually mistreat them come evening time. Now, and these are the stories you hear. In the evening, at evenings, at night, those Ugandans who were mistreated during the daytime by Gujaratis, Gujarati overseers or managers, they would come and take revenge. How? They'd be drunk or whatever. They would put both their hands on a table, and they would chop them off with I think something that they used to chop sugarcane with. I think they used to call it panga. Panga. They used to call it panga. Very sharp. And so my father was a kind of a happy-go-lucky person. So I think he blended in well. I think according to me, he was a good-natured guy because he knew that he had to work with all these people, basically. So he survived that way. The Gujaratis do. When we came here, we were called bloody, if I can be rude, you fucking packies. And Indians would go, Gujaratis would go, but hang on, you've got it all wrong, but you can't reason. In those days, you had the, Powell's speech. He made a speech, and that infuriated people. You had the rise of skinheads as well, and they would see a brown skin, and all of a sudden, bash a paki. And that you heard about it left, right, and center. And so you hear about Gujaratis being abused or whatever, because you hear about that very quickly, because people are warning each other in a way, be careful, be careful. So in the beginning, it was difficult not speaking English. So if you can't communicate, you're at a loss, because people would treat you as an idiot or whatever. So I had to, a day later, we arrived, we had a day of freedom at home with my dad, seeing the world outside, this Britain. We lived on a road, so it was on a hill. You could see the whole of, not the whole of England, the North London of London, and you think, where am I? But you look at a place without any regret, because you've come here on a journey. My father was only going to invite me, but because he was renewing our passport, someone said, well, invite all your daughters and your wife and let them come back 2 months later, 3 months later, and then let your son study. And after my studies, I was going to go back to India, because having 4 sisters, one was already married, having 3 sisters, you need someone to earn a good living to look after your family. So we ended up here because of me, and we stayed. And this is 2021. We're all here. And actually another sister who was in India, she's also here too.
Oh, good.
Can you give us an example of first-hand racism you experienced yourself when you arrived?
When I arrived, because I didn't speak English, it was an uphill struggle. A day later, when I went to school, in an art school, I was doing only those subjects which were good for me: maths, art, and I think just those sort of subjects. In the beginning, they said you'll do everything. I did CSEs. But anyway, my first day in my art school, my teacher said, what's your name? And I said, my name is Bhasker Patel. They all fell about. They said, what? I said, Bhasker Patel. That's how we're known back home. You are the son of Dahyabhai Patel. Not my name is John Wilson. My name is John David Wilson. You are the son of, so that people know who you are. They fell about. And I saw that as an insult, but I just thought there is something wrong here. I don't think they meant to make me look little, but I felt very little because I felt I don't know English. How can I explain to them, Bhasker Bhai, brother Bhasker, Dahya Bhai? It's a respect you give to yourself. You don't call yourself just you have to call yourself John Bhai. You know straight away that Bhai means a brother. Dahya Bhai means that. And I was at a loss. I couldn't explain that to them. So I shortened my name to Bhasker Patel. So the culture of celebrating my dad's name just went by the wayside. I had to shorten it. At the moment, I'm working for ITV in a show, and because of COVID, we have a car that takes us from my home in London to Leeds, where we film. And the driver is a Romanian guy. It's a kind of an exclusive car. And I said to him, I said, hi. He drives me. The first day when I met him, I said, hi, my name is Bhasker. He said, my name is John. But I said, it's not spelt as John. He said, no. For the company that I work for, they prefer to call me John. His name is Ionuț. He comes from Romania. Comes from a culture, a cultural place. But even he, in 2021, is having to shorten his name, called John.
So let's talk a bit about how you got into this acting world. Somebody in your life must have encouraged you to go to acting school, or how did that come about?
You also talked about the art school you started.
Yes.
That's something maybe connected.
Yeah, right. The art school even in here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's maybe unusual,
Yeah. Well, the art school I did in Britain, I did it because there I didn't need English, if you think about it. But the acting bug, actually, I don't think it started, but you always, you have a kind of, someone sows the seeds, basically. And as you know, our culture is so vibrant. Music and dance, it's always there in all our festivals. So every year in our school, we did a yearly event where we did plays on stage, and the whole town would come, and the adjoining small villages would come and watch that. And it was a yearly thing. And actually, one of our teachers, he would write a Gujarati play rather than borrowing from texts. He would write it like a social drama or whatever. Now, as I told you, my father was in Africa. I was in Gujarat with my mother and my 4 sisters. Boys, they need a role model. My sisters had my mother, but I was a kind of a loner in my own way. So I always looked up to boys older than me. So I would hang around with them. During, I think we would call it not RSS movement, but all over Gujarat, we had the China war and we had the war with Pakistan. They wanted to prepare the men to fight for the country if need be. So I would hang around with them, and I've actually forgotten Scout movement. The Indian Scout movement was different. It was just preparing them as well. And I would always hang around with them. I would stay with them in a kind of a marquee, in a tent, away from our homes, and in a countryside. We would sleep there. So I was always around older boys. When it came to drama and everything, I was always interested in how they would rehearse or whatever, not knowing that I wanted to be in it or not. And they would say, oh, he comes and he watches it every day. After school, they would rehearse, and rather than going home, I would sit around and watch. And they would say, oh, he could be so-and-so's son. And they would say, don't worry, you don't have to learn any lines. Just now and again say something. We'll tell you what to do. But you come with this uncle who's come to visit so-and-so in a scene. So I always sort of was part of that. Every year it became a kind of not a chore for me. They would say, oh, we'll use Bhasker. He loves doing it. So I was always part of that as well. So that's that. I grew up watching our films. How? Not going to the nearby city in Borsod, but a lot of a cinema, the sort of cinemas used to come to us. So on the back of someone's wall, I don't know whether you've seen a film called Cinema Paradiso. I can see when I grew up in Britain, I thought that's my life in that film, Cinema Paradiso, where someone would come from a neighboring city, and they would bring a big sort of projector on a lorry. They would play it, and you have this. How can you hear it when there is a diesel? There's a what do you call it? A generator playing, and then you have all these songs and dance, and you're hearing everything. But you watch these old films, Saraswati Chandra. You have all these black and white movies. And I preferred watching those Hindi movies, those Gujarati movies, which were sort of social dramas, not like today's Bollywood movies. It just became from Hindi movies to Bollywood movies where they started copying everything. So my sort of seeds or my sort of liking for acting started, I think, slowly from Gujarat, being in school plays. And then leaving Gujarat, coming to this country, and then I had to start my life all over again. We would go and see Hindi films on a Saturday and Sunday, which you know, a lot of Gujaratis did that. Before the VHS came about, people would go and see films every Friday late night, Saturday late night, and Sunday all day, those double bills. So my family and we would go to a cinema nearby, Curzon Cinema in Turnpike Lane, and would watch Hindi films. Even then, I sort of didn't know that I want to be an actor. I loved what was happening on that big screen. Even in Gujarat, after I passed my matriculation, I would sneak away during the summer months. My mother didn't know. I would jump on a bus and go to a nearest city, Borsod, and we had two cinemas, Nataraj Cinema and Vasant Cinema, and would watch whatever was there, watch a matinee, and then as soon as the matinee finished, I would go back to the bus station, jump on a bus, and come home. My mother wouldn't know because during summertime, they know that you're safe. You're playing with people. You've gone to fields to pick up mangoes or to pick up boars. Suborne suke chapde.
The English one, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So to eat those, and you were happy. You weren't hungry. Your mom knew where you were. You were with other kids. You were chasing monkeys away from the mango trees. So growing up there, a baking hot season, but under a tree, under a limranu jhad, under a neem street, you knew you were safe there. Coming here, watching films, that was one thing. But then I thought, what do I want to do? And I thought, I actually want to fly. I want to be a pilot. I liked it. I think I was always a free bird. I think I didn't, education-wise, I wasn't very good at sort of academic stuff. Although I wanted to be, I wanted to study aeronautics. I was accepted by Bath, Salford and City University. But I thought, well, actually, I'm still shy. My English is zilch. And if I want to be a pilot, I want someone else to understand me at the other end. So nearby in North London, in evening classes, they did drama, speech and movement. So I went to a theatre school where they were teaching along with woodwork, metalwork and everything. But this drama school, Mountview Theatre School, they had evening classes in movement, speech and drama. And I thought, let me, and here again, not knowing anything about the English literature, I just started attending, basically. I liked it. I started liking it. Cut a long story short. Then I thought, well, actually, do you know what? I don't think I'm going to finish my, I'm going to go to a university to study aeronautics. I thought I'd like this acting business. But it again, not knowing how I was going to make a living of it, because there weren't that many parts. I mean, those were the days that there was only one show a week on a Sunday morning called Nayi Zindagi Naya Jeevan, which was only, I think it was less than an hour long, black and white. We didn't have a television. We didn't own a place. We were renting a place from a Gujarati landlord. And those were the days that in the 70s, no one would let you rent a place to a Gujaratis, or even I think the Irish had the tough time and the Afro-Caribbeans had a tough time. What was it that we don't want blacks, dogs and whatever. Those were the kind of people would openly say that.
Irish.
Yeah, Irish. Yeah. And so a Gujarati landlord, again, we rented a place from him. Again, look at it. He promised 3 rooms, 1 room with a kitchen, which had a double bed for my mom and dad. There was another room for 3 sisters, and there was a small room for me. But when we landed, he said, no, you can only have 2 rooms. So we had in 1 room, which was literally 8 by 10, which had a kitchen, all the storage area, and then a double bed for my mom and dad. And in another room, we had my 3 sisters and me sleeping on a sofa, basically, because my father didn't want to challenge the landlord, because he was so thankful that actually he gave us, he let us have a place in his house, basically. So yeah, it was a kind of a tough.
What I would have felt that because you were an Asian in this acting school, must have been very difficult to get a break. Did you find that?
When I decided to go to a drama school, as I said, I did not see that many Indian parts, Asian parts, as they say it here, Asian parts. But I didn't think about that. And I think that's a good thing about, because we are talking about Gujaratis and how Gujaratis actually go outside Gujarat, outside India, and how they survive, how they thrive. We actually go for it, I think, in my estimation. We go for it. And I thought, well, I want to do something. And I saw that as a challenge. I thought, no, I've got to do it. And so I worked for a year in a betting shop to save the money. And there's a story about that as well. And again, I think it could be that it comes from our culture. In a betting shop, they liked me because I was a hard worker, and they were all older ladies who worked behind the cashier, and the manager, and they were managers, and they all liked me. So I would always get work. So I was saving up for a year, and again, I didn't tell my parents what I was doing, what I wanted to do. I always said to them, and I don't think my parents actually objected, or would have objected. But I said I'm doing art. I didn't say that I want to be an actor. Again, I didn't have that kind of I didn't have those dreams that I'm going to be a famous actor or whatever. No, I just loved something. I think that must be the free having that freedom to move, fly, and not be in an office job or something. And I didn't even know what an office job would look like. But again, I think it could be that because I didn't speak English very well, and I thought an actor, I would probably put on another garb, and under that I can hide, I think. Psychologically, I'm sure if I sit down on a couch, an analyst would sort of say, that's why you chose art, basically. So when I was working at that betting shop, there was an English guy, and I would write out his bets for him. So this English guy, I would always help him. And I think it was intriguing for him. So one day he said, are you not studying or whatever? And I said, look, I'm studying, I want to do drama, and I'm saving up to go to a drama school. Next day he turned up and he said, this is the address of my solicitor. Tell me how much money you want, and tell me which school you want to go to, and how much money you will need to keep you going. And everyone in my betting shop where I worked were like, oh, my name is Bhasker. They used to call me Bushka. There you go. Bushka, that's very good. Here are the people, I work with them, they love me, I'd make a cup of tea. They said, Bhasker, you make a lovely cup of tea or whatever. But they still could not sort of, pronounce my name properly. Pushka, that's lovely, lovely. And I was touched, tears in my eyes. And I said to him, I said, look, no. I said, politely. And he was taken aback. He didn't see that as an insult. And I hope he didn't. And everyone said, do you know who he is? Actually, he's got his children. They don't care for him, but he worked in South Africa, an English guy, and he's got shares in Rothmans and in cigarette companies, which was, people smoked a lot, and if he had shares in them, an older guy with loads of money. His children didn't care because they were all rich as well, and he lived in Wood Green, in a neighboring area, and he wanted to help me. I did not take that money because I wanted to do it myself. I don't know why. I thought, if I go to a drama school, I want to do it my way. And not in a stubborn way, but it's that pride. Ki main karyu chhe, mari jate karyu chhe. So I didn't. I mean, he didn't see that as an insult. That was the check ready for me. But no, I didn't. The drama school I used to go in the evenings, the headmaster, which we had no connection with, the evening schools was a different area, and the full-time drama school was totally different. So he called me in one day. He said, when you come in early, can I have a word with you? And I thought, my God, have I done something wrong? But he has nothing to do with the evening classes where I'm learning speech, drama and movement. And he said, you live in Haringey? We are in Haringey, and we have a great relationship with the Haringey Council. And because you live in Haringey, they would prefer that someone from Haringey would come to this school and become an actor or whatever, would go out and thrive. Again, everything was there on a plate. I didn't take that because the school was known for musical theatre. And I thought, well, I liked playing harmonium and doing semi-classical music. Again, I learned that playing harmonium over here in Britain. In our town, there were two mandirs. There were several mandirs, but in one mandir, which was a Swaminarayan mandir, and they had a harmonium. And I always wanted to play the harmonium. But no one would let me touch the harmonium because it belonged to one pandit or whoever was managing the mandir. So no one would let you touch it. So I digress. My father, when he came from Africa to India, he brought a Hitachi, a cassette player, and I loved singing. I would be singing away the Hindi songs or bhajan because we had a mandir next door, and I would go and help them out to play the drum, nagaru ke na apne. So during the arti time, I was always there. They would always call Bhasker over. Bhasker, aao, tari jarur shet. I'd always be there. So my father brought this cassette player, and I wanted to record, but no one told me that if you have a cassette which has that thing that's broken, you cannot record over, basically. And I wish that someone had actually said, actually, you need a cassette that hasn't got that thing broken. And if it's not broken, you can record or whatever. I wanted to hear my own voice. I would have been somebody else, actually. And actually, that's where I think somehow, when it comes to art, I think we sort of think that the Gujaratis would think that, that there's no money in it. Actually, go and become a doctor or engineer or something or whatever. But don't go into art because there's no money in it. You won't be able to look after your family, basically.
So, I was asking you about your first break.
First break, yeah. My first break came when I was at drama school in London, and someone said, I had barely begun, and someone said, BBC in Pebble Mill, in Birmingham, Pebble Mill, they were doing a film called Garlands, and they were looking for this particular character, an Indian boy. They can't find him. They actually, there aren't that many actors actually of that age group. And so I rang them up and I said, oh, by the way, and I again lied. I said, oh, I'm in Birmingham And they said, well, do you live in Birmingham? I said, I probably lied and said, yes, I do. So they said, well, if you live in Birmingham, then come tomorrow or the day after, and the director will see you. So that was my lunch money. I said, with that, I bought the ticket, went to Birmingham. I don't know how I got from the station to Pebble Mill. I think it's a long way away. I might have got there by taxi or whatever. So whatever money I had, I probably saved up and spent there. I turned up, and then they gave me the script. Now they give you a script, and you have to do the dialogues with the producer and the director. The director watches you, and the producer reads the other lines. And I don't think I was very good at that. But my character didn't need. He had lines, but he didn't have like monologues. Anyway, I did my interview back on the train. They said, oh, shall we get you a taxi to the station? I said, no, don't worry. I might have lied and said, no, I'm walking to my home. Anyway, I got to the station and on the platform, who was standing there for the train but the director whom I just saw, Horace Ove. And he said, oh, you're going to London? And I said, yes. I mean, he didn't sort of bat an eyelid. And on the train, we sat opposite each other. And he started asking me about my life and everything. And cut a long story short, I probably told him who I was, where I came from, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing is I got the role. But there was this catch-22. Earlier on, you had to have an equity card, Actors Union card. There was a catch-22. Without the card, you can't get the job. You can't get the job without this. But if BBC proved to Union that, look, we cannot get anyone but this person, they would give you a card. So I got my equity card just by chance, where somebody told me that who had gone for a role, he didn't succeed, but he heard from the producers saying, if you know of any boy around this age group, let us know. So I turned up. I got my equity card from that by doing Play for Today. There were lovely stories. A lot of writers, directors got jobs out of Play for Today. A slot. A garland, yeah, that's what it was. And I went back to my drama school. I had barely begun, and I said, look, I have a job, TV job. And I was literally sort of shaking because they would go, you haven't even finished your 3-year training. This is only my first year, and you applied for a job. And that again, I might have done it naively. I was in a telephone booth, putting I think 2p coin in it, and thinking, I hope it doesn't run out. I hope the BBC would pick up the phone quickly and transfer it to the producer, and I would get to talk to them. I only had a handful of coins, and would say, yeah, come, okay, tomorrow, yes, I'll be there, and then end of conversation, basically. So my drama school was an independent drama school. It wasn't affiliated with the government or whatever. So they understood. So they said, no, go and do that. You'll get an equity card. So I became an envy of all my English colleagues, all the other students in a drama school. Because even then, my English was zilch. I wasn't very communicative. I knew I wanted to do something. So I went back and they were like, you got an equity card? Really? So I said, yeah, but I was still kind of a meek, very sort of not saying much. I thought, I've got an equity card, go back to drama school. But lo and behold, someone I had worked with was given a job in the theatre. And he had to speak Punjabi, Hindi in a play, plus English. And he said, I can't, but actually I've just worked with an actor who is a kind of a real McCoy. He comes from India, he's very, very Indian, and actually this would suit him. And again, the play was about racism. It was a German play. It was an English guy who lived in Germany, a guy called Roy Kift, and he had written a play about how Germans were using the Turkish people. Because the Turkish people were also invited in Germany to again sort of to work and live there. So the play was about the racism there on a campsite. So he came to, because him being an Englishman, he wrote the play whereby a black family and an English family, they are living on a campsite side by side. It's a holiday time. But this Indian boy, he's cleaning the campsite. He's picking up the rubbish and whatever. That was my character. So anyway, they said, oh, there's a play in Kilburn at the Tricycle Theatre. If you want it, it's yours. I went to see the director. I loved meeting him, and so I went back to school and I said, oh, I've got a job. So they must be thinking, who the hell is he? What's going on here? You know, he doesn't even speak English. He's very shy. But so they said, go and do it and come back. I went back and we started doing a Midsummer Night's Dream. I was given a part of Thisne, and anyway, again, something happened and someone rang me from Polka Children's Theatre. And they said, we're doing Mowgli. We can't find anyone to play because we need an Indian boy. And then they saw me and they're like, oh, real McCoy. Well, he's the kind of a real Indian, you know, we've got him. So I went to see them. I auditioned. A guy called Richard Gill, who ran Polka Children's Theatre, and his assistant director, Janet Marshall, I think if I remember the name right. And I did my audition piece on a stage, and Janet told me, his assistant director, he said, when you left the theatre, he leapt up in the air. He said, he jumped and he said, I've got my Mowgli, I've got my Mowgli. So again, went back to drama school and they said, look, go. Although I worked for a year, I saved up money, I paid my fees in full. I don't know how much, a lot of money in those days. I asked people around. I said, I still want to finish my studies. Because I think that's what Gujaratis do believe in, doing things properly, not cutting corners. Because I've come all the way here. My father invited me from Gujarat to come here to study. And I need to finish this. And even then, they didn't know that while I was doing BBC, play, whatever, they left me alone. I was that was very magnanimous about my parents, because my mother did not study that much, my father neither. So here are two sort of here you've got mum and dad not knowing English very well. My mum worked in factory. The day we turned up, 2 days later, she was in Aldgate East in a sewing factory. And my father had laid down all those things that they'd come because my father borrowed money. We only came in Britain with £3, I think £3 or £2 or whatever. You could not bring more than that. So yeah, even then my parents didn't know that I was studying to be an actor, basically.
Then when you told them about your Mowgli role what did they have to say?
No, I actually prior to Mowgli, I belonged to a Gujarati drama group at Bharati Vidya Bhavan. Now, those Gujaratis who had a theatre group in Kampala, Jinja, in Uganda, the same people came here when Idi Amin kicked everyone out. Then Naresh Bhai of Kolorama, Pritam Pandya, but Nattu Bhai, my uncle who just died.
Yes.
He died just a few days ago, and he was the main organizer. I mean, he did a Gujarati film long ago when he gave a role to Sanjeev Kumar, who was an actor and became a very big actor. So he actually set up this, again, the Gujarati drama group at Bhavan, Bharati Vidya Bhavan. They said, we had it in East Africa where people would come and watch the plays and, have the entertainment as well as have the Hindi films that they used to watch. So we started in Bhavan, we started that. As well as doing full-length plays, they would have one-act play competition every year. And I would every year win the best actress role. There was a guy, there was a well-known theatre practitioner called Chanchi Mehta, Chandravadan Chimanlal Mehta. Big name. And first year he was the adjudicator. He was the judge, and he saw me on stage doing a play called Tin Bandar. And afterwards, everyone was scared of him because he was a well-known person. He traveled the world. He had translated Shakespeare into Gujarati. He used to go all over the world and watch different form of plays and cultures, and would translate that in Gujarati. And he said to me, he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I like mime." He said, "Well, in that case, go to France, go to Lecoq School." And I thought, now bugger it. I don't even know French, let alone English. I don't know. So I could have gone to. I wanted to go to France and study mime, but I thought I don't know French. So that basically stopped me. But every year I would win this. Every year. I would find a play, I would get actors together, I would find a director, a guy called Bhasker Patel. He loved acting. I mean, he actually gave up. He had small parts in Mind Your Language and Ain't It Half What Mum. But he married a Gujarati lady, and there weren't that many jobs around. He would get one line in a play, or one line in a TV play in a year. How can you make a living when you have a family? So one day, as soon as the play finished, the competition finished, my parents came to watch it. Of course, they would come and watch it, and they were on their way back to Turnpike Lane, and on a underground platform, one critic, Gujarati critic, was talking about my performance. Said, "That guy who won, Bhasker, wasn't he good or whatever?" And I remember Pankaj Vora, his name was. He told me a couple of months later, or a couple of days later. He said, I met your parents. He said, "I mentioned your name, and your dad, he was away from me. He leapt. And he said, 'That's my son. That's my son who won.'" So my mom and dad, he said, "Your mom and dad were so happy that you won and how good you were." But even then, they didn't know that I was going to be a full-time actor. They didn't know. They thought I was doing some art at university or college, yeah.
So how did all these big films come your way? You performed in the Octopussy, Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
How did all that come about?
Right. What happens? You go to a film school, then or you go to a theatre school, and at the end of your course, during your final year, you do a production, whereby a theatre school would invite casting directors and invite agents, theatrical agents. Without that, actually, you cannot get good roles unless you're lucky. So I left my theatre. I finished my. I didn't finish my theatre training. I was working. I got an agent, and through an agent, I had a job at the National Theatre in a play called A Map of the World, written by David Hare and directed by David Hare. It had Roshan Seth in it, a well-known actor, Diana Quick, Bill Nye. Anyway, casting director came to see the play because they were casting for Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, basically. And there were small parts in the film. So I got a small role in it through that, because this casting director watched me, but watched also, there weren't that many Indian actors, Asian actors around in those days. I got that. I got a role in Octopussy again through theatrical agent and through a casting director called Debbie McWilliams. And I got a lovely role in Octopussy, filming at Pinewood Studios. Indiana Jones, we filmed that at the Elstree Studios, watching Harrison Ford. My dressing room was 3 doors away from it. And as I was going towards my dressing room, there, Indiana Jones, Indy, walking towards me with a hat and the whip, and said, "Hi." And I was like, we were the only 2 people in that corridor. And you see that and you think, you're blown away. Octopussy was great. You're watching. I was playing a houseboy, a butler to Louis Jourdan, a well-known actor in Hollywood, in France. I was playing his butler, and then you are watching Roger Moore, do the scene. You're watching it from the distance away, and you're acting standing next to Louis Jourdan because you're playing his butler. Slowly, you learn a lot. Kabir Bedi, our Indian actor, he was in it as well. He was playing a baddie, So you watch all these, and slowly, slowly you learn. I learned by watching, and by making mistakes. As I said, I didn't finish my theatre training. These films came my way. There were small parts, but it adds to your CV.
Did you find that being an Asian, you predominantly managed to get Asian roles? Was that an advantage you took for yourself?
Yes, in my case, I was lucky because growing up in India, in Gujarat, I sort of knew my culture very well. So if there was an Indian part came my way, if I was auditioning for a part, I felt very comfortable playing that part. I didn't have to put on an accent. Whereas a lot of my contemporaries who grew up over here, they were British basically. You know, although they were Indians or Pakistanis or whatever, they when it came to playing an Indian part, and in those days, you know, the roles were very, very tiny, but they felt very uncomfortable. So they had to put on an accent. But with me, I suppose, learning Hindi, Gujarati, Sanskrit back home, it gave me that kind of a background. So if I read something, I would go, okay, I know who he is. I don't have to pretend. That I felt very comfortable with. I didn't have to sort of put on an accent. The roles were tiny, but I was learning by watching people. If I was in a theatre, at the National Theatre, for example, to date, I think I've done about 9 to 10 plays. But my first play there at the National Theatre, in between scenes, I wouldn't be in my dressing room. I'd be watching actors, not copying them, but seeing how they're doing it, performance after performance. Just sometimes it would be just watching it, not even realizing that probably I'm learning something. When I was growing up, I didn't follow football or whatever, although I played cricket all my life in India. My father stopped smoking and he saved up money and sent me a proper cricket bat and proper cricket ball rather than those sponge balls or whatever. In England, I grew up watching plays in a pub. I would go and watch a theatre play. You stand up in a queue and there are returns. And if you were an equity member, you got a discount. You watched a matinee show, you know, for £5 or something. So I always watched plays. I watched films, European films, German films, French films, Spanish films. The subtitles didn't bother me, and I watched films there. I wasn't into kind of one of those multiplex. I mean, multiplex started later on, but I wasn't into watching Rambos and whatever, like you know, bang 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 movies. You know, the sort of the films of the 80s or whatever. But American art movies. Then I would go and watch Indian art movies. But there aren't that many that came our way, apart from Satyajit Ray's movies or few others, which again BFI would present it to Britain. So I watched theatre, plays and films, and I learned a lot.
Today there's a discussion about the so-called ethnic roles. Is there a change in that way? You know, that you can play any role, you know, or a black actor can play any role, you know.
When I started, the roles were far and few between. When I started acting, a lot of black actors found themselves very comfortable being in an English play, in Shakespeare, in classical plays, and also the white directors, if I can use that term, they found it easier to cast black actors in a classical role, in a classical play, in Shakespeare, than the Asian actors, Indian actors.
Wow.
I think it could be the culture is the kind of the same, the religion is the same, whereas they found, I think they found that there weren't that many Asian actors about at that time. So I did not see many Asian actors in classical plays, basically. Where actually you cut the mustard, you actually learn a lot. But we weren't cast in those plays. No, I was only cast in a play where it said Indian, or a Muslim, or a Hindu, or of that age or age group. Otherwise, they would not venture out. I was auditioning for a company in Wales, and I went to see them. I saw the director. I did my, for a role, theatre role, you do your classical piece, and then you do your modern piece, and if it requires singing, then you sang. And at the end of it, the director in front of me, an English guy, and he said, "Ah, you're a Patel." I said, "Yes." He said, "Shouldn't you be running a corner shop, or shouldn't you be or a doctor or a post office?" No, didn't even say doctor. He said, shouldn't you be running a corner shop or a chemist or a post office?" And I didn't see that as an insult. I thought, well, okay, if that's your mindset, I haven't got the role. That didn't deter me. That didn't make me go home and go, "That's it. I'm gonna give this up." Another thing happened is, and that's a good thing about Gujaratis. We never rely on any handouts. We never rely on handouts. And while I was still practicing to be an actor, and I was an actor, a jobbing actor, all of a sudden we had a 3-day a week. And as an actor, when you're not working, you go and sign on in a dole office. And there I was in Tottenham in a dole queue, which was a norm. The work was plenty at that time. You left a job on a Friday, for example, and then you had a job on a Monday. It's when Margaret Thatcher came, she just deunionized everything and got rid of everything and said, "Oh, this can be done abroad, or in Far East or whatever." But anyway, in those days, but all of a sudden, this three-day a week turned up. I was in a queue. I looked behind. My mother standing in a queue. I didn't let my mother know that I was in that queue. And I thought, what are you doing? You want to be an actor, but there aren't that many jobs about. There's a lot of hanging around in between. What will you do in order to keep you going? I didn't want my mother to see me in a dole queue. And I made up my mind that from now on, even if I have no money or whatever, I will go and do anything in order to keep me going. Still be an actor, but keep earning. Any kind of a job I would do. So I made sure that in between acting, I always did whatever, market research, to you name it. I've done it. You have to, because I wanted to make sure that I'm not going to be an embarrassment or give my mother a kind of a heartache, thinking. And also, my father invited me over here, invited the whole family here. I wanted to do something in order to sort of make them proud of me. And I think that's a Gujarati thing as well, I think. Yeah.
Do you have any regrets rejecting any roles which you would have taken, but then you felt, I wish I had taken that role?
When Andrew Lloyd Webber was casting for Bombay Dreams, directed by Stephen Pimlott, he's no longer with us, but a well-known director. I thought, I want to do this. I'm not a musical actor, but there were roles where you didn't need to sing. So I wasn't seen for it because there was no role for me. And then second time they were seeing more people. Again, a friend of mine said, "Bhasker, there is nothing in it for you." An actress friend of mine. But all of a sudden, my agent got a call saying, this part was going to go to Syed Jaffrey, but for health reasons, he can't be in it. And actually, they're looking at other actors. So anyway, I auditioned. And then they invited me again. At the first audition, they said, "Can you sing?" I said, "Yes, but I'm not a very good with English songs, but yeah, a Hindi song, yeah." And they said, "Yes, sing us." So I sang a Hindi film song. I wasn't sort of shy about it. I thought, well, they want to hear me sing, so I did that. I did the same thing at Windsor Theatre Royal. They were seeing actors for a pantomime. So they said, "Can you sing?" And I said, well, was it Baba Black Sheep or something? I sang, I don't think I sang Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, but I sang something. I was in shy about it. I wasn't afraid. But at the same time, I wasn't like, oh, I'll do anything. I thought, well, okay, they're asking me genuinely, can you sing? And I'll sing something. So for Bombay Dreams, I did that. And 2 days later, they called me again. There was a recall. So I met the director again. He said, how are you? Fine. He said, I just want to do a couple of scenes again. And I was impressed with the first audition. He said, do you have any questions? And I said, yes, I do. I said, this old part is a lot older than me. He said, don't worry, I don't have a problem. There's makeup and everything. We'll make you look older. Anyway, I got the role. I started rehearsing the role. A week later, I felt that there was something missing there. So I went to the director. Now here's a big musical that was happening in the West End. Andrew Lloyd Webber investing money into this musical, Bombay Dreams. There's a buzz going on, and I'm part of that. So many cameras every day would come and rehearse, and A.R. Rahman was doing the music. So you're around with all these people. Anyway, a week and a half later, I said to Stephen Pimlott, the director, I said, I'd need 5 minutes, and I knew how busy he was. And he said, no, that's fine. He gave me 5 minutes, and I said, I'm not comfortable playing these small roles. And he said, but 6 months later, this role will be yours. But then I found out that they invited an actor from India to play the role, and they wanted me to play his understudy. So I was like, for 1 year, first of all, they said 6 months to understudy somebody and play other small parts. But now I realize that for 1 year, that actor is here to play that role. And for 1 year, I'll be on stage thinking, what am I doing? I'm playing, and I have no qualms in playing small roles. No, because there are no small roles. And I understand that. But there, I just thought, no, this is not something right. The money was good, a year's employment in the West End, in a musical that the whole world was looking forward to. The whole of India was looking forward to. And the director said, okay, fine. You want to go? I said, yes, I want to go. And I just left the theatre. Didn't even think about a year's employment or whatever. I wasn't afraid of actually doing in between jobs, doing anything. But you know what? Something happened. And a week later, 2 weeks later, BBC were doing a Murder in Mind, and there was a lead part in it. And I got the lead part. And that led to, and I got the role, I did it. And that actually, when it came out, it got me a bigger agent. So I took a lot of chances, a lot of risks as well. Yeah, a lot of risks.
Yeah, it's true.
If I wasn't happy, I sort of went, no, actually, you're not doing enough justification to yourself. Long ago, a German company young Germans came to London. They were looking for an Indian actor to play the lead role in a film that they had done a documentary about, how Pakistanis or Indians left Pakistan via illegal way, ended up in Germany, in East Germany, and East Germany used to shove them into West Germany, to topple their topple their, one second, I'll just to actually unbalance West Germany, basically. Anyway, these two Germans came to London. They were auditioning people for a lead part. My brother-in-law was in Germany, a Gujarati guy. He was in Germany. So I said, look, I need to learn this German. And he said, and the word is Scheisse. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I had to say Scheisse, Segal, or something like that. And he said, do you know what you're saying? I said, no, but that's why I'm asking you, because you know German. And he said, you're saying shit. I said, okay, fine. So I before auditioning, my brother-in-law sort of told me what it was, because I couldn't go to anyone else. I didn't know that many Germans or English who knew German. And I saw these two young Germans, very tall. They used to joke with me, not in a racist way, but they'll say "kleine schwarze Mann," and they're like, they were tall Germans, and they were young as well. And they had seen, they had gone to a casting director who did the casting of My Beautiful Laundrette and Octopussy. So the same casting director gave my name, gave names of other actors as well. I met them and I read the script. They said, we will only give you the script in English, but your character speaks German, Deutsch, broken German. And we won't give you the German script. We will give you the script in English. And if you get the role, you will come to Germany. You will learn in German as if you're learning from day one. And then on the day, we want you to actually improvise. Not improvise, bearing in mind what you have, translate German in your head. Anyway, they saw me first, and then they went away. They came back again for a recall, and I had no knowledge about film acting because, all the roles that you play as an actor, those roles were small roles, tiny roles. You don't learn a lot. You've got to play a big role to learn something. Anyway, the second audition, and I said to them, I said, look, you want me to audition for this small role, a kind of a medium-sized role, but the lead role actually. If you don't see me for the lead role, I don't want to play any other part. I don't know what gave me the courage to say that. I did it, and after my second audition, they went away, knowing fully well that I have no film acting experience. They came back and they said, actually, you've got the role. And I said, what? Later on, I said, what made you give me the role? Having no knowledge of film acting. Because in this country, we concentrate on theatre than TV or film acting. In America, it's a different trend. They cut their mustard, they cut their cloth on films, on cameras. Whereas here, we do it on stage, basically. I got the role. The film went all over the world, Venice Film Festival and everywhere, and lead role, every scene. And I learned a lot from a German director, Jan Schutte, and the writer, Thomas Strittmatter. He's no longer with us. Because they wrote a beautiful film in black and white as well. We shot it when there was East Germany, West Germany. We shot it in Berlin as well, West Berlin. And there I am. Again, there I am. Jan said, we're going from Hamburg. Now we will go into West Berlin. So we leave West Germany, we leave Hamburg, we leave West Germany, we go into East Germany, and then we go into West Berlin. And I think, what's going on? This is Germany is one. If it's East and West, there should be a straight line. But then I was still I was learning. I was being in a world that, as well as playing a part, as well as being in a feature film, it was another world. Again, likewise, same as leaving Uganda, going to India, coming to Britain, again, finding myself in another world, learning German from scratch every day, like a child. And then being in a film, then filming a film, filming everything, and then going to another world where then you're in a West Berlin metro, not metro, but what do we call in Germany, U-Bahns or, and then he said, now we're in West Berlin, now we're going through East Berlin, and then we're back into West Berlin.
So tell me a bit about this role. How did you get into Emmerdale? And it's quite a good role of Rishi Sharma.
Yes. ITV, Emmerdale, again, they've been. It's a second running soap, which now they call it continuing drama in Britain. It was Emmerdale Farm. Now it's Emmerdale. Now, how did I get the role? In the beginning, they were only looking at Asian actors coming from Yorkshire, because they wanted an actor who came from Yorkshire, so he could have a Yorkshire accent, basically. They saw people. I didn't know anything about it. They saw people, and they weren't happy. So then they said, look, cast the net a little bit further away from Yorkshire. So then they started seeing actors from all over Britain. I went to see them. Prior to meeting me, they would give you like the whole bio of this guy that they've created, because it was a regular part. If it's a regular part, then they give you as much information so that you know who this person is. Although you're only auditioning 2 or 3 pages, so you have an idea. And then I thought, well, I'm very good at feeling, playing myself basically, but that's not what I was thinking. I thought, on a page, this is what the situation is. I'll be genuine to this situation, rather than trying to pretend I'm from Yorkshire and I have a Yorkshire accent or whatnot. And yeah, at my interview, I just did that. I just played the role. I played the situation in that scene. Then, when again, I was a jobbing actor. So I then grew, I used to grow a beard. Why? Because after 9/11, all the roles that we were seen for, they were all terrorists. Exactly. All terrorists. 1 line, 2 line, saying Allahu Akbar or whatever. Never ever. And if, again, going back, every time that they had an Indian character or a Hindu, it was always sort of in a kind of a negative way. When I played shopkeepers, it was like, please take my money, don't rob me, or please don't hurt me, or whatever. So you never played anyone who had a kind of a bit of a stamina, oomph in him or her. But the writers were English writers, so they themselves, I don't blame them. They didn't know us, they didn't know me, they didn't know our culture. If they did, it was from a distance. So do I blame them? Not really. It's now that we have young British Asians, Gujaratis. If you're talking about Gujaratis, now they've sort of they're born and brought up over here. They know who they are. They don't want to play 1 or 2 lines or whatever. They would reject that. Then sort of take the role, because they felt, no, I don't want to start my career playing small roles. Whereas for me, it was the opposite. But then I don't regret that, because I learned a lot. So for Rishi Sharma, they said, oh, now we want to screen test you with a lot of other actresses who will be playing your wife. So there they had 10 actors and 10 actresses, and also my character married an English lady. So then I go to Leeds for the screen test, and I said to my agent, I'll have to get rid of my beard. I said, I'm not very comfortable about it, because if I don't get the role, it will be a while before I grow this beard to play a terrorist. So my agent said, look, they bluntly said, for screen test, they need to see how you look, because mine is a businessman. Rishi Sharma is a young, when he was young, he married an English lady, he went to Yorkshire, he set up a sweet factory. Again, it was a good idea that they made him a kind of a self-made person. Not running a corner shop or running a chemist or whatever. I mean, for once, I think my wife said that I'll be happy that now that I'm happy you're not wearing those colorful sweaters. Because every time I did something, they would put me in a kind of a very sort of how an ethnic guy or Indian guy would wear these colorful sweaters or whatever. I was never ever looking suited and booted. Whereas my character, Rishi Sharma, self-made man, a millionaire, he was, suited, booted, looked kind of a refined gentleman. So I got rid of my beard, and I got the part. And that's 9 years ago now. You learn a lot by doing it every day. It's a soap, continuing drama. The scripts arrive 2 weeks before. In the beginning, it's a little bit hard, but your brain's a lovely machine. You automatically start learning quickly.
How do you do you memorize your lines, or you can adapt to the script, or you have to stick to the script?
You have to stick to the script. You cannot improvise, because in a continuing drama, if I am doing something, unbeknown to me, they have already set up a plot that's going to happen in 6 months' time, or they have a yearly meeting. If they have a meeting now, they would be talking about what will happen in 2022, February. So it's a big machine. So yes, you learn quickly. And then I decided not to do a Yorkshire accent. I just thought he's an Indian businessman. He went to Yorkshire. He's a well-traveled man. He's very comfortable being himself. So I decided not to do a Yorkshire accent. I thought, no, he's a businessman. And then I look at a lot of Indian businessmen around who are very successful. They don't have a particular accent. So I just thought I'll be truthful to myself, basically, and then feel very comfortable playing that.
What's your experience with the rest of the cast of the soap?
Great. I think in a soap, I think what happens, especially in Emmerdale, we're in Yorkshire, they're all regular actors, and we become a one family. So whatever's given to us, thrown at us, you just play that, basically. Because the directors, they know what they're doing, the writers, they know what they're doing, the producers, they know what they're doing, the storyliners, they know what they're doing. If they bring in something, they do a lot of research. So if they have to bring in another Indian character, I'm very now everyone does a lot of research. So if they give it to you, it really surprises you that, oh, they really got it right. Whereas long ago, I would turn up at an audition for TV or whatever, and at the end of my interview, I would say, do you mind if I tell you something? And they'd go, no, we're finished with him now. He doesn't even know that whether he's got the role or not. Now, what does he want to say? And I would say, the names in this, the names of the characters. The first name is a Hindu name, but you've given him a Muslim name. So it would be, they would know, the English writers would not know what a correct Hindu name would be. We know that if you come from Gujarat, you're a Gujarati. If you're from Madhya Pradesh, you have a different name, culture. So anyway, so you would correct them, and do you know what they would say? Look, thank you so much, and you take pride in that, because you're helping them. You're helping them. You're correcting them, but in a positive way.
When you explained before that you come from a stage actor, how did you feel when in the society sometimes the soap actors are regarded as a little bit lower? How did you feel yourself?
Well, when I started acting, if you had said, "Oh, do you want to be in a soap, a drama?" I would say no, I don't, because in those days, in the sort of 80s, early 90s, actors wanted to do a lot of other stuff, theatre, radio. If you got a soap role, they thought that you got stuck in that. And then when you leave, people think that you can't play anyone but that character. Now, it's the other way around. Because soap world, continuing drama is so fast. It happens, you have a one scene, you have 1 hour and 15 minutes. You learn your lines when you're given those scripts 2 weeks before. You learn those lines. You turn up on the day. You have a line run with your other actors. And then the director tells you where he or she wants you to put you. And then you rehearse with that. The next thing is you do a technical rehearsal for the cameras, because it's a multi-camera. You don't have one camera. You have cameras there, and somewhere else as well. You do that, and then when everyone's happy, you do the makeup check, and then the next thing is you go for a take. So all the choices that you make during that take, you somehow have decided that's how my character would react, unless a director tells you otherwise. And it's very fast, it's very quick, and it's so challenging. So now everyone else would see that, oh my God, being in a soap, it's such a very challenging job. And I take pride in that. Going from theatre to film, as I said, when I did the German film, play the lead role, it was so different, because my theatre acting was so over the top, whereas in film, you required little. But my German director friend, he taught me. I used to watch films, but I learned from him that watch films, how people are acting, how people are portraying their characters. Do less, but do it all inside, from inside. Camera will pick it up. And I found that challenging as well. So I was always sort of learning something totally different. Soap acting is again totally different. You're acting to 3 cameras, so you then adapt, know where the camera will be focusing now, where it will be cutting, when they edit it, how this will be seen on the day.
Is there any favorite director or actor you have enjoyed working with really well?
Yes, I enjoyed working with Robin Williams. Yes, in a movie called Being Human. He was my master, I was his servant. I worked with him in Morocco. I was gobsmacked when I got the role. The well-known director Bill Forsyth, David Putnam produced it. And I spent a month and a half of filming it on location, and became very good friends with him. He was lovely, generous. I never felt that I was working with a world famous actor, comedian, stand-up comic, a genius. And I loved working with him, often on screen. He used to send me Christmas cards every year, which was, my wife said, "Have you written back to Robin Williams?" And I said, "No, I can't. He must be sending it to so many people." Until I bumped into other English actors who were in the same film, and I realized that no, they weren't getting Christmas cards, but he truly chose me or a few other people. Recently, I worked with Oliver Stone in a movie called Snowden, which was funded by Germany and France, but not by Hollywood, because Edward Snowden, was very critical of CIA, FBI, the American administration. I saw him in London, knowing fully well that I was in Emmerdale. My agent plucked up the courage and put me up for the role. I met him. I was only supposed to see him for 10 minutes. I ended up being in there for less than 1 hour. It was fantastic. Anyway, then they said, "You've got the role." And then I realized that I have to go back to ITV and say, can I be in this? And I admire my agent for putting me up for it, because you're in a soap, you can't do anything else. I am a property of ITV. My character Rishi Sharma, it's owned by ITV. So I have to be very, very honorable to them. Don't bring, I can't bring any disrepute to my character. I have that job. That's my responsibility. But anyway, I went to my executive producer, and they said, "Yeah, if you're free, you can do it." Yeah, why not? And then they changed the plans or whatever. So Oliver Stone's company came back and they said, "Oh, we've changed the dates." And I was like, "Now I can't do it." So we went back to Oliver Stone. My agent went back and said, "You can't have Bhasker now because you've changed the date." And these things happen, He rang ITV in Leeds and said, I said to them, I said, "Oliver Stone will give you a call." And they said, No, you're joking. And Oliver Stone rang them and he said, "Why can't I have Bhasker?" He said, "Why can't I have Bhasker?" And they said, "Well, we can't, Mr. Stone, because this is what we do. Everything is well planned. We have 3 units working. It's a factory, but in an artistic factory." He changed the dates. He said to them, he said, "You tell me when Bhasker is not available, but I want him." And he said to the casting director, "Please do not see anybody else. I have made up my mind. I met the guy. I want him." And working with him was again another world. He would never let anyone change dialogues. This is again going back to, I'm glad I grew up in India. I'm glad that I grew up in my culture. So when I was working with Oliver Stone, he would say, "What do you think?" And if something didn't work, I would say, while rehearsing, I would say, "Oliver, can I do something?" He'd go, "Bhasker, you do it." And you do it. And for him, the book was like a Bible for him. Every word, every comma, every full stop, meant something. And hence he's a well-known filmmaker, a script writer. And he would go, that was good. That was good. And he would make the changes. The guy playing the lead role of Snowden, he probably was thinking, who the hell is this Indian that Oliver Stone allows him to do this? But I think because it comes from the heart, the creator would go, actually, yeah, I must give him a chance. So on the day filming in Munich, he would let me. He said, "Come and watch the monitor. Take." I would say, "No. I'll leave it with you." So no, come and watch. I said, "What do you think?" And I would go, "Oh, I'd like to do something." He would say, "Okay, let's go again." So working with Oliver Stone, and at ITV, they were like, "My God, we have Oliver Stone ringing from a well-known, world-renowned, world-famous director, ringing ITV saying, 'I want Bhasker.'" So that gives you another kind of
confidence.
Yeah. But also they ITV would go, actually we have an actor who's known elsewhere and he's needed elsewhere as well. So we're lucky to have him, I think.
What is the biggest change in your life ever since you started doing the Rishi Sharma role?
It gave you, being in a drama like that, day in and day out, you're acting, you're practicing your craft, gives you confidence. So tomorrow, if I have to go and meet another director for another role in something else, instantly, if they ask you to do something, you instantly, without knowing, you give them exactly what they want, nearer to what they want. And that's because of the kind of work I do in a continuing drama, in a soap drama. Every day you're practicing something. Every day you're in a same role, but the same role is put in a different in different situations. And we have a family. I have a family in it. I have 2 sons. I have a daughter, and the soaps are about families. And so that actually gives you that confidence. I want to be a slow burning candle, which I told the executive producers. I don't want to burn out quickly. There's no point.
Do they give you a choice, or is it up to them or the script writers? How they write the story?
Do they give you a choice? Now, in a soap, normally it's a writers-led medium and the executive producers. But the writers who are our regular writers, they know which way the whole carpet, the tapestry is being woven. So I could be little person in there, but I do matter, because without me the whole tapestry isn't finished, basically. So I'd rather leave it to them, because in a soap, soap isn't about you. It isn't about Rishi Sharma, my character. I'm part of this big picture.
What best acting tip would you give to any budding Gujarati actor?
I would say keep on doing everything. Small role, big role, do all manner of work. Never say, "Oh, I don't want to do a corporate video," or I don't want to do a small part in this TV drama, or a small role in theatre. Because I learned a lot, and you meet people, you meet different people, and so you get accustomed to working in an environment where you will survive in future. So absorb as much as you can. Meet people. You never know that person you helped one day long ago is now a big director or a big writer, and people never forget. They always see your input in their productions.
So would you advise young people to take up being an actor in the present time, or would you say, okay, better go for some business or something else because the money is more stable?
Well, now as an actor, if you apply your energy in a right way, you can make a living. You can make a living. So do go to a drama school, because I think having that training is important. So if you can, unless you get lucky and you get a lead role or a kind of a role in a film or in theatre, then learn on the hoof. But if I were you, I would go to a drama school and get the training so that you know what the directors are talking about. You know how you can survive. Because acting for me, it's all about the technique as well. I think now, now that I'll be 65 tomorrow, I think acting is the last thing that's required. What gets you through is the technique, basically. How to do things, how to portray a character in theatre, on television, in films.
What are your plans for doing when you kind of slow down, opening a drama school or something like that?
No, I'll always be an actor. I think I'll always be an actor. I can't see myself doing anything else. But slowly, I'm also encouraging. I'm also encouraging a lot of young filmmakers to do short films. So I always, as well as being in Ameldale, they let me do a lot of other short films where I'm not bringing disrepute to ITV or to my character. And I'm learning a lot as well as being in Ameldale. I do a lot of other short films. And there again, I am not playing Rishi Sharma. I am playing another role. So I want to keep myself alive all the time, so that when I go back playing Rishi Sharma, I'm still alive and fresh as well. And also I know that if that role goes, I've still made contacts with the outside world. I know what the young directors or young writers are thinking, because every generation is different. Nowadays, people can pick up a iPhone, and they can do a short film on their iPhone, because the technology is great, and people have actually shot movies on mobile phones. So that you have to learn as well, as an actor as well, how to take directions from young kids who are barely 20, 25 or 18, but they have an idea. They want to be tomorrow's filmmakers. They're tomorrow's Steven Spielberg or Oliver Stone or big directors or writers. Yeah.
Do you have a mission for acting or performing films, plays, and do you think it's important in present life?
I love theatre, but now I do want to work in America as well. But at the same time, I don't want to give up my role in Rishi Sharma. So the reason I want to do that, it's because I've worked with American directors now. Here's a difference. In Britain, an English director would see the character and it says, this person is 80 and he's this and he's that. And they'll stick by that. With an American director, American producer, you go and see them, although it says this character is 80, but they meet you, they like your reading, and you go and see them again and you tell them, why do you want to cast me? And they'll say, forget about what it says on that piece of paper that this character has to be this. We don't care. We like you because you're a good actor. And it happened to me a couple of times. American producers have said, I went to see them again, and they said, welcome back. And, we loved you, your reading the other day. We called you back, and shall we do those scenes again? Any question? And I have said, and I did say to them, I said, that character, it's like Morgan Freeman in Driving Miss Daisy, because it did say that this Indian character, it's like Morgan Freeman in Driving Miss Daisy. And he did say that he's in his sort of late 80s or whatever. And this is way back. I said, I'm not 80, I'm barely 50 plus or whatever. They said, no, forget that. We like what you did. And you got the role. And you work with those people. I haven't seen that in British directors. They just stick to that, what's on that piece of paper.
Have you had any experience of Bollywood?
Yes, I did. I have done Bollywood films. Not in India, but over here when they do film a lot of Bollywood films. I think for me, I prefer Hindi films, but Bollywood films are, for me, they're like a mishmash of everything. The older Hindi films had gravitas. They tackle social issues, and the acting was more kind of from the heart. Whereas I think today's Bollywood films, they're just like song and dance, and for me, that's not me. Yes, those films that I did act in, I never felt that I was working with artists. They would do their bit, and you do your bit, and then you go away. So you felt like it was an insult. Whereas in Britain, you work with actors, you work with American actors, British actors. You're a family. You're working with each other. You talk to, hi, hello, how are you? Whereas I found that with Bollywood crew, the crew were fantastic. The director would be great, but working with Bollywood actors, if we call them actors, they would be in their own world. And for me, theatre is about communicating, relating to each other, saying hi, how are you, whatever. It doesn't matter, he or she is a multi-million-dollar earning actor and you are just a one-day player or whatever. But we're actors. Say hello. You're from there. Do you not want to say hello to me or whatever? We're in the same scene. I was working with an actor where I was playing a kind of a Ramanujan kind of a part, the mathematician, and he was my dear disciple, and the whole the situation was set in Cambridge. I would invite him from India. This is in it's a story term, and it was basically a retake of Back to Future. So anyway, they rehashed it, and it was like Back to Future. And this actor that I'm acting with, I have lots of scenes with him, over 10 days or whatever. And you're in your trailer doing your makeup, and he would never even say hello to you. For me, it's not acting. It's not creating drama art, So I really, I did work with Rishi Kapoor. I loved working with him, and we communicated, yeah. But then he comes from a theatrical family where he knows. He did say to me, he said, why don't you come to India? And I said, there's no point, because I don't want to start all over again. I'm very happy here because the roles are small roles, but I am doing it with dignity. I'm given respect. Although the roles are very tiny, small, but I'm doing it with pride. Whereas Bollywood, it's another entity, and I don't want to be in a world like that.
As a Gujarati, how do you feel you have changed your people around you, or you left your ancestral home, and now all of a sudden 65 years in this country, obviously it's a massive change for you, isn't it, or for your ancestors as well? How do you see yourself in all these years?
Yes, England has become my home. But then again, I want to go to America and again do something there again, challenging. Because in America, they make a lot of films, a lot of roles. And in America, it doesn't matter whether you're Indian or not. They see you for a role, and if you're right for the role, they would cast you in that role. Going back to Bollywood, that's not my cup of tea, unless Bollywood changes. And it won't change for a long, long time. Also, the acting that Bollywood requires, it's song and dance and looking handsome and pretty, and that's not me. I've learned a lot from here as well. I want to do something good as well. I want to do a lot of films if I can. But at the moment, I'm very happy playing Rishi Sharma. They're very ITV, they're very good to me. I'm learning every day, which I don't think I can do that back in Mumbai, in a Bollywood movie. And I'm not part of the sort of nepotism world. I come from nowhere. I am a kind of a self-made actor. I've made mistakes. Nobody taught me. I learned everything by myself. I fell down. I picked myself up, and I wouldn't change it. I would not change it. Here, I'm comfortable here, but at the same time, you still feel that you're an outsider. I really don't know why. You still feel an outsider. I'm sure if one day, if I can go to America, if I do go to America, I will be an outsider. But as long as you're happy in your work, then that is fine for me. For me, that's fine.
Any message or anything you want to say, maybe for young people, or any outlook? Not so personal, not from what you want to do, but maybe something for other people.
I think for me, my message to British Gujarati children is this: that if you do want to enter into media, into the art world, please don't think that you're on your own. There are people like you who again will not have a backing from your family, but you're not on your own. I think here now there is a lot you can gain from. Go into it wholeheartedly. Go into it. You in the beginning it might be very scary, financially as well, and also mentally as well. A lot of rejections, but don't see those rejections as a kind of a failure. I never saw them as my sort of failure. I learned a lot. So if you do want to go into it, please do, because there are a lot of avenues available. But you will come across a lot of barriers as well. Overcome them. And as long as you have family support, and as long as your family know what you're doing, I think you will succeed. Yeah.